the valuable one, which may have started us off, which is I really want to develop and grow as a human being, can for some people change to a sense of one's potential as a human being to have real deep, profound realization in the moment. And therefore the resources of the Dharma give that opportunity. And that's so clearly stated in the teachings of the Buddha, time and time again, when at the end of the discourses, or in the Satipatthana discourse, he speaks of the realization that came right there and then. And so deep that the interest of myself developing actually drops away. That immediacy of realization is the priority there. And therefore sati leads to sati sampajanya, and the sense of developing as a human being is important, but the teachings don't give or don't have a great emphasis on the progress of insight or the progress of meditation. The Satipatthana discourse, which is the encouragement for you and I to look at the body, the feelings, the states of mind and the Dharma, is not a progress approach. It's a direct seeing into those things which affect our life significantly, called the bodily life, called the feeling life, called the states of mind life, called the Dharma of life. Yes, anyone, please. Yes.
In the inquiries,
yes.
What was on the tip of my tongue was to say impermanence is not changing. Because you asked what does change, what does change. So I thought, change or impermanence doesn't change. But then you abandoned it.
Very quickly.
If I understood correctly. So, can you...
Yeah, sure, listen. If absolutely everything is changing, that the true nature of things is absolute change, which some people will have the view. No question. It puts us in a very, very difficult position as human beings. Firstly, I cannot rely on anything. I cannot rely on any insight. I can't rely on any understanding. I can't rely upon any discovery because it's going to change. Therefore, no insight has any authenticity to it. It's going to change. That I am trapped in this world of change, and it's just going to push me along where it will, and I am helpless in the face of change. If there's only change going on, there can be no liberation, there can be no truth, which is steady and reliable, there can be no reality, which is present, because I'm just pulled along by these circumstances of change. So, one can say accurately, and this is kind of keeping the door open, one can say accurately, everything which I have contact with changes. Either the object changes, which it does of course, or my way of looking at it changes. And I'm so spellbound by it, I can't imagine from the way the world shows itself to me that it may be some other way altogether. So when Michael and I were talking or making the reference again to, I think yesterday, the analogy of the blind person touching the elephant, we can be totally convinced this is how it is. It's a wall, it's a very rough wall I'm touching, completely convinced we can persuade everybody. It doesn't mean anything. It's just how I perceive. So if I can hold the world of change rather lightly, maybe I can have something, discover something which is indestructible. Totally indestructible. If I hold the world lightly enough, how the response comes from the human being is the power of it. And what I mean by that is, if I listen and just goes over the head, as I said earlier, goes over the head. If it's just mental, it's just a good idea, etc. They may touch my emotional life, but it would be rather brief. But if I realize, that means to discover the real, something, and it's authentic, come back to the dialogue with Michael, and it's authentic, it is liberating. The nature of it is liberating. And this liberating discovery, in the midst of things, is indestructible. Therefore it's not subject to change. Can't be lost. Everything else can be lost. It can't be lost. And the authenticity of it from the human being is, in the sense of the discovery of it, that there is something which has truth with it. There's only one truth, and this truth is indestructible. There's only one liberation, and this liberation is the same thing, is indestructible. And therefore it is not subject to the field of time. And it's right in the midst of things. It's not beyond. It's right in the midst of things. And that's why we have to treat the way we perceive the world rather lightly. We have to treat presence and absence rather lightly, life and death rather lightly. We have to treat consciousness lightly and awareness lightly. Not give it this indestructible state affirmation. Truth and liberation is indestructible. Whether I'm aware or whether I'm not. Truth and liberation could care less. Doesn't matter to it. Whether I'm awake or I'm asleep. Whether I'm mindful or half mindful. Whether I'm clear comprehension or I don't have it. Whether I'm alive or whether I'm dead. It's not going to make any difference to truth. But awareness is dependent on being alive. It's dependent on a human being. It's dependent on feelings and thoughts and body. It's a human thing. The book's not aware. Not even a decent one. It's a human construct, awareness. Yes, anyone, please. Yes,
what do you call it then? Because everything transferred to human construct.
Yes.
If there is a relation from a subject, from just perceiving life without owning it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just to call it life is also, it's
yes.
Also conception.
It is. And the difficulty, and it's an important, significant difficulty. If I call it one thing, so I call it life, because the word, a word, tends to carry its opposite, or its complement, then I could find myself holding to life as against non-life. There. If I call it presence, which some will do, then I may have fear or agitation or worry about something becoming non-present. no matter how much I hold to presence, if I call it being, the same issues about not being will arise. Because it's back into the world of the duality. So the tradition has rather wisely been rather careful about making a word. Yet not to be afraid of it. The Buddha has used more than 30 words. And the reason for using some 30 words, infinite, immeasurable, truth, reality, deathless, birthless, ageless, painless, the bliss, the true security, the authentic. These are some 30 words altogether. And part of the reason for that, nirvana, obviously, another one. Liberation, another one. Emancipation, another one. The part of the reason for that, as a skillful means, is so that we don't grasp onto a concept, a word, and put it outside of this immediate field and say, I'm going to attain to this, and this will get me out of the world and out of this suffering and out of samsara. So it's not unlike religion, which is often settled on a word, usually God. He hasn't made that because it becomes an object to reach out and grasp onto to get out of this world. Even though the tradition has made that mistake, often with nirvana especially. So it's much more, the radical and beautiful view is there is an intimacy with life. The deeper the intimacy with it, the greater the access to a kind of unspoken truth, an inexpressible truth, which is liberating and freeing, and there's just one truth and it has no name to it.
The unconditioned.
And thank you. The unmade, the unborn, the unconditioned. We've got must have at least 10 or 15 of them now. Yes, anyone, please. Yes, please.
I'd like to come back to awareness.
Yes, do. Yes, nice.
I'm grateful you said that still it is an important thing and a beautiful thing, because in one of the small groups we discussed this among us, and somehow it came out that all of us were fans of awareness.
Right.
Mindfulness, because we had all made the experience that somehow that had changed our life, and for some time
yes.
It was really important, and maybe the view had arisen that this is it. But I agree, awareness is subject to change, and it's not okay. But still, from the practice of, especially of choiceless awareness, that's one practice I learned from you.
Yes.
One of the practices we do together here on retreats.
Yes.
The experience is that, for one thing, it seems to be that something happens with the subject-object.
Yes.
In choiceless awareness. One observation is that this kind of choiceless awareness seems to be self-reflective.
Yes.
I can be aware of being aware.
Yes.
So it's still subject-object, but something, there's some kind of shift that comes from better than that. And the other experience is that the sense of the I is still present.
Yes.
But it seems to get somewhat smaller or weaker in meditation, in the practice of choiceless awareness.
Yes.
It's still there, but somehow it seems to be softened.
Lovely.